Hello everyone, I'm Fozzie, your Cam, and I'm here as always with my co-host Will. How you doing today, Will?
I'm doing great, Cam. How about you?
I'm doing fantastic. We have a good schedule today. Schedule I'm very excited to chat about. First and foremost, I want to talk about something that we've never really had a chance to talk about on the podcast, and that is the Hollywood Walk of Fame, which just announced the 2026 list. And there were obviously a lot of big names there. You got Shaquille O'Neal, you got Miley Cyrus. I mean, a bunch of big stars, right? So Josh Groban. I mean, these are all big stars. But you know what kind of shocks me and Will? Timothy Chalamet
Yeah.
got a star, and it's not shocking that he got a star. It's the fact that he got a star so early in his career. He's just getting started. He's not even 30 yet. And he got a Hollywood Walk of Fame star before Shaq did? Really? That's just ridiculous. The confidence that people have in Timothy Chalamet right now is just off the charts.
Yeah.
And I don't necessarily even think it's a bad thing. I'm just very impressed, honestly, that he was able to, on top of everything he's achieved, also achieve this. You know? I mean, Will, what are your thoughts on this?
I am in total agreement with everything that you just said. Cam, there were certain names on that list where I looked at them and I was like, that makes perfect sense. That is somebody who's totally deserving of getting a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. Shaq, for instance, is 53 years old. Shaq has been on TV entertaining people for
Years, yeah.
multiple years
And
now.
he played in the NBA.
Exactly. George Stephanopoulos has that's another guy. He's been on TV on Good Morning America for years now. He's TV royalty. He's been on TV for years. So that's another name where, he's been on TV for a long time, 64 years old, makes perfect sense to me that he would get a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. I saw Demi Moore's name on that list. She's been an actor in Hollywood for years now. Makes
Yeah.
perfect sense to me that they would give a star to someone like her. But then when I saw names like Miley Cyrus and Timothy Chalamet, Chalamet especially. I was
Yeah.
just like, wait a second. The Hollywood Walk of Fame should be this life achievement award for people who have been in the sports or entertainment business for many years, and it's an award that they get after all their multiple years, multiple decades worth of work
Yeah.
in the sports or entertainment business. And yet, when I saw a name like Timothy Chalamet, who's only 29 years old, I was just like, he is way too young to be getting a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. I think they should be waiting until Timothy Chalamet is at minimum in his 40s to even consider giving him a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. Has Timothy Chalamet had an incredible career so far? Absolutely. But I think people who are deserving of a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame are not just people who are popular right now at the age Timothy Chalamet is at, but people like Demi Moore, George Stephanopoulos, Shaq, people who have been either acting or on TV for multiple years and have kept it up over decades and not just at a specific moment in their life. Those, I think, are the people who are deserving of getting stars on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. So I totally agree with everything that you were saying, Cam. Like there were some names that I saw on there that I was like, great, makes perfect sense. Those are people who are totally deserving of getting a star on the
Yeah.
Hollywood Walk of Fame. But then when I saw Timothy Chalamet's name on there, I was just like, that's about as bad of a decision as I think they possibly could have made. Look, Timothy Chalamet is an amazing actor. He's had an incredible career. But I'm sure even he might think that this is a bit too early for something as big as this.
Yeah, definitely. And even Miley Cyrus,
Yep.
also being around his age, she has done what she does longer than Timothy Chalamet has, you know?
Yep.
And she's older than him. So eh, it's just it's a little weird, but congrats to Timothy Chalamet. That's just outstanding. And some more topics we'd like to cover today are in the movie sphere. But Jurassic World, what is it? Jurassic World Rebirth
Yep.
has been a pretty large topic of discussion here on the Everything Podcast for a while now, and I've actually, despite me having some very negative things to say about this movie, I actually watched it. Um, if I didn't have if I had stuff to do that day and I wasn't just sitting around doing nothing, I would not have seen that movie. But there I was, sitting on my couch, just thought to myself, I gotta go do something. I checked my local theater. Two movies. It's a small theater. Will's been there, but
Yep.
there are about there are six theaters there. There are six rooms where you can watch movies, but there were only two movies in the theater, which were the new Pixar movie and Jurassic World, whatever, you know. So I watched it. Um, and the visual effects were really good. Thought Mahershala Ali was kind of a standout, but what can you do when you're given some of the worst dialogue ever and just the most predictable story ever? And it was almost boring how predictable it was. Honestly, there
Wow.
were no real thrills, no real terror felt by this movie, and those are all things you'd expect to feel when you're watching a crazy dinosaur thriller with kind of a twist at the end, and it just wasn't good. It was a terrible movie. I like Scarlett Johansson. She was not very good as the lead in this movie. She played the most stereotypical action lead in any movie I've seen as of late. It was just terrible. It was a really bad movie. And I honestly think the review should be more negative. And it's too bad because I think Garth Brooks is a good director, director of Rogue One and The Creator, which are both really solid movies, right? And he
Yep.
definitely has his own vision as a director, and you could almost see that in Jurassic World, but not nearly enough to make me really get into it, and that's disappointing. But here we are, yet another pretty bad Jurassic movie. I think this franchise needs to probably end for a while because I don't know any Jurassic fans. Like I'm a fan of the Jurassic movies, but not like I'm a fan of the MCU. No,
Right.
not like that. I don't know anyone who's a fan of the Jurassic movies like the MCU.
Right.
At this point, there are just too many. Seven Jurassic movies is almost ridiculous. But it's an iconic franchise. They're probably gonna milk it for a little bit longer, and then I think it's over. So I think they should enjoy it while it lasts because people are gonna lose interest, especially after watching this mediocre to bad movie. And you plan on watching it soon, right? Well,
Yeah, I do plan on seeing it soon, and this is something I find just really interesting about the Jurassic franchise. To me, I feel like there seems to be a disagreement between critics and fans about the quality of these movies. I would put us, I mean, I would say that we're definitely fans of movie franchises like Marvel and Star Wars, but
definitely.
I would also put us in the critics category because we are on YouTube with a podcast and we are critiquing these things and saying whether we like them or not. So I would definitely put us, not that we're not fans of these franchises, but I would also put us into the critics category. What I find interesting is that, okay, and I'm not saying that Rotten Tomatoes is the end-all, be-all, definitive place to go to for movie reviews, but I do think they do a good job of capturing just the disagreement between critics and fans on this franchise. So the original Jurassic Park has a 91% on Rotten Tomatoes. Like I think everybody, I think everybody can admit that that is a classic, well done film. But then we have The Lost World, Jurassic Park, the sequel with Jeff Goldblum from 1997, 56% from the critics on Rotten Tomatoes. Then we have Jurassic Park 3 from 2001, starring Sam Neill, which has a 49% on Rotten Tomatoes. Then we get to the original Jurassic World, when they switched the franchise from Jurassic Park to Jurassic World in 2015, the original Jurassic World film, 72% from the critics on Rotten Tomatoes, so better. But then Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, 47%, Jurassic World Dominion, 29%, and Jurassic World Rebirth, let me find that, but I think that was somewhere around 50 something percent the last time that I checked. And yet when I went online today, I saw that Jurassic World Rebirth is making a lot of money at the theater, and people seem to be going to see it. Now, this is the opening weekend, so maybe it'll do really well in its opening weekend, and then maybe it'll drop off over time.
Definitely possible.
Yeah, but what's really interesting to me about this franchise is that the Hollywood movie critics seem to be saying, okay, they made a great the Hollywood film critics seem to be saying the original Jurassic Park is great, the original Jurassic World is decent, but everything else is not great. And yet, I think the reason that these movies keep being made, even if they're not well reviewed, is that fans just keep coming to the theater to see them. So I just when I look at this franchise, I definitely think they have not had a great movie since the original Jurassic Park in 1993, and yet I just think there's a disagreement between the critics and the fans. I think the critics definitely think that there's been a drop off since the original movie, and yet I think the fans just have different expectations because they seem to continue to flock to the theaters to see them, even if they're not well reviewed.
Yeah, and as long as that keeps happening, then we keep making them.
Yep.
But we were talking about Rotten Tomatoes, and I just want to receive some breaking news that I've received. There is now a Rotten Tomatoes app that you can download on your phone, which I literally just downloaded as I saw the news.
Okay.
I opened it up for the first time. It's a very lovely app. And, I mean, I'm probably not going to be doing any reviewing on Rotten Tomatoes because I review movies on Letterboxd. But there's essentially a whole new news section with all the Rotten Tomatoes articles and lists. There's obviously the homepage like you'd see on the Rotten Tomatoes website with the reviews and such. You get your inbox for notifications, and it makes reviewing movies way easier than on the website. So, I'm very happy about this because, well, yeah, the website was fine. There were no issues. It was a little bit outdated because its competitors like IMDb that's an app. Letterboxd, another competitor, that's a big app, So I think it's about time that they've stepped into the app arena. And I assume you'll be downloading it right after this episode as well. Well.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah.
But yeah, this is great news for us movie lovers. Speaking of which, I also got a chance to see the film F1 with Brad Pitt, and I really enjoyed this movie. Mainly the direction from the director of Top Gun Maverick. So it's going to be a theme park type movie. And that's what it was in the best way possible. I had a lot of fun with it. I thought Brad Pitt was the best part of the movie. Javier Bardem of Dune fame and No Country for Old Men. Tremendous actor. He plays a kind of more basic role in terms of Javier Bardem performances, but obviously he played it really well. He's gonna play it well. All the racing scenes were incredible. I mean, there's some stuff I just don't even understand how they shot it, just because of such a small space that they had to shoot in. But I guess they invented whole new techniques of filming to make this movie, which is remarkable because you don't see people really pioneering new technology for a single movie anymore. And yeah, it was just really impressive. It was a summer blockbuster that, yeah, you're going to want to see in the theaters. Yeah, you should see it in IMAX on the biggest screen possible, the best speakers possible, because that's I feel like where it was meant to be seen. The only thing I was disappointed about really was the score. Hans Zimmer is one of my favorite composers right now, and I was pretty let down by his score of this movie because it kind of just felt run of the mill, basic, in terms of him. But I had other positive things to say. The visual effects that were in there were fantastic, but I will say a lot of it was just practical shooting, practical car racing, which is really just remarkable work. Like I said, Brad Pitt was great. His charisma was off the charts. But one thing I thought to myself after leaving the theater, because of the director also directing Top Gun Maverick, I thought to myself, could Tom Cruise have played the Brad Pitt role?
Mm.
And I just don't think he could. I think Brad Pitt, obviously, granted he's a big Hollywood hotshot or whatever, but he can kind of hurt his own ego a little bit. He can play a character with more humanity, and I honestly think I have a lot of respect for Tom Cruise for what he's doing for movies, but I think he has too much of an ego to show off that sort of humanity and kind of depict himself in the way that Brad did in this movie. Um, but yeah, it looks to be making a lot of money in the box office. Already talks for an F1 sequel, which that was pretty darn quick. Um, but yeah, it was a good movie. Very fun summer blockbuster. Yeah, that's the movie you're gonna want to see in theaters. Do you actually plan on seeing that movie, Will? F1?
I hadn't been planning on seeing it, but I might have to now that you mention that, and that's great to hear that it's been getting really great reviews and that you enjoyed seeing it. So yeah, I will definitely think about possibly seeing that one.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you'd enjoy it, especially as you're a Top Gun Maverick fan.
I am, yeah.
Um, but I also recently saw 28 Years Later, which is a sequel to 28 Weeks Later, which is a sequel to 28 Days Later. It's a sort of zombie apocalypse movie, but it's more it's a more strong and developed concept than simply zombie apocalypse. Um, it was a really really well made movie. I was very impressed with all the acting in this film. Ray Fiennes was in it. He was just phenomenal. He was probably the best part of the movie for me. The ending of it was a little weird. If you've seen it, you understand what I mean. But if you've seen the first two movies and you're a fan of them, I don't see how you wouldn't be a fan of this one. And it sounds like a lot of people are liking it because we just got a sequel announced for I
Wow.
think it was January 6th, 2026, which, what's crazy? The movie is called, the whole series, 28 Days Later, you get 28 Weeks Later, 28 Years Later. You know how many weeks it is until the release of part 2? 28 weeks.
Oh
Very
wow.
good marketing. Very good marketing. Yeah, so I had a lot of fun in the theater with this one. It's definitely more of a horror movie, and I know that might not be your thing, but yeah, if you're fans of the others, you'll like this. But maybe watch the others before this,
Hmm.
because it'll help make more sense. Um, but we do have some more upsetting news, honestly, on this podcast because we're big fans of Cobra Kai. Well,
Yeah.
we were big fans of Cobra Kai, then it ended. So, here we are. We're like ex-fans of Cobra. Well, I guess we still can be, but it's crazy to talk about that show in the past tense now because it's over. It's done. That's wild to me. But anyway, um, Cobra Kai's star, Martin Kove, is in a lot of hot water right now for something that, yeah, honestly, he probably should be in hot water for.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just a terrible situation. So if you're unaware, Martin Cove and what was her name?
Alicia Hannah-Kim.
Yes. Alicia Hannah Kim and Martin Cove were at a convention, a standard Comic-Con or whatever. So they were there together, and I guess when Martin Cove saw her, played a little joke, a little bit weird of a joke, but he seemed to think that it was something that they would do. They had that sort of relationship. So he did it, and he did this little biting joke, like he was attacking her. I guess he bit a little too hard, and yeah, she was not a fan, and I would be upset too. Um, Obviously, I don't want someone biting me. Maybe with the context that I already know who Martin Cove is. Maybe that's a thing. But clearly to her it wasn't. And clearly to him, he was shocked that she wasn't feeling the same way he was and actually allegedly yelled at her and screamed at her, which she later apologized for. I've seen the body cam footage. But they were both, or Martin Cove was then asked to leave the venue, and the police were called. And while talking, Martin Cove seemed very apologetic, which that's good at least. I mean, I don't think he's an evil man for sure, but still, you do hate to see it. But I think other than biting her, he handled it well. He seemed apologetic. She didn't press charges. I think it's kind of a terrible situation just because, yeah, Martin Cove probably thought they were joking. He probably honestly thought they were joking, and he wasn't doing it maliciously. And it's too bad she didn't feel the same way. So do I think Martin Cove is John Kreese in real life and is secretly evil? No. Not at all, actually. But, yeah, like I said, it's a terrible situation for us Cobra Kai fans. And, well, I've heard some of your thoughts, but to the audience, as arguably one of the biggest Cobra Kai fans out there, how do you feel about this?
Yeah, I mean, it's just I don't think Martin Kove is a bad person. I don't think he was intentionally doing this, but sometimes in life there are going to be situations where you do something that you didn't intend to do, but that doesn't mean that you're not still in the wrong for it. And that is what I feel Martin Kove did here. First of all, biting Alicia Hannah Kim and reportedly nearly drawing blood, that in and of itself is a really
That's a
bad look
problem.
for Martin Kove. I mean, when do you hear about somebody biting someone and nearly drawing blood? I mean, that is
Yeah.
just crazy. That is a really, really bad look for him. That in and of itself is a really bad look. But then this to me is just where it gets even worse for Martin Kove. He does that, but then Alicia Hannah Kim says that she went up to him to try to handle it peacefully and say to him, Marty, I don't like that you did that. Please don't do that again. Alicia Hannah Kim says that she went up to Martin Kove to try and handle it peacefully. And then Martin Kove, according to Alicia Hannah Kim, yelled at her. I mean, Martin Kove, how are you in any way, shape, or form in the right to do that
Oh,
there?
he's definitely not on the right.
Alicia Hannah Kim, she was the victim. She was the one that you bit and reportedly nearly drew blood, and then she goes up to you to try to handle it peacefully, and then you do that. That is just not a good look. And then in the body cam footage that gets released, there's one point where Martin Kove is talking to Alicia Hannah Kim, and he calls her darling. And I was like, my goodness, Martin Kove, when you're in this type of situation,
Yeah.
referring to Alicia Hannah Kim as that is really not your best decision. And then at another point, he said, I'm sorry that you interpreted what I did as a crime. Martin Kove, that was another mistake. In that type of situation where you bit your co-star and reportedly nearly drew blood, you should not be coming out and saying, I'm sorry that you interpreted it as a crime. No, sir, Martin Kove, you have committed a crime by doing that. That was not a smart choice by you to say that. So I don't think Martin Kove is a bad person. I don't think he intentionally did this. He came out, he apologized. I appreciate that he did that, but I just cannot defend in any way what he did. Biting somebody and nearly drawing blood, and then Alicia Hannah Kim goes up to him and tries to handle it peacefully, and then he reportedly yells at her. That is just a really bad look for Martin Kove, and I think he should be super thankful that Alicia Hannah Kim has handled it like she has. It's not like she tried to get him sent to jail or anything like that. She didn't do any of that, and she even came out and put out an Instagram video recently saying that she doesn't want this incident to take away from people's enjoyment of the show at all, and that's not representative of her overall experience with the show, and that everybody else besides Martin Kove um, on the show is great. I think Martin Kove should be thankful that Alicia Hannah Kim, I mean, she got, really mad at him in that one moment, and rightfully so. But after that, like, she didn't try to get him sent to
Yeah,
jail or anything
yeah.
like that. And then in her Instagram, and then in the Instagram video she recently came out with, even though she's the victim in that situation, she comes out and says to Cobra Kai fans, "This is not at all indicative of my overall experience with the show. I don't want this to take away your enjoyment of the show at all." So I think Alicia Hannah Kim took the high road in this. I think she totally comes out on top, and I think Martin Kove, I mean, I don't think he intentionally did this. I don't think he'll do this again, but I do not think he comes out looking good here. Alicia Hannah Kim, I think, was totally in the right to stand up for herself. I find it incredibly respectable that she tried to handle the situation peacefully at first after what Martin Kove did to her. I think that's really respectable on her part. So, as much as I hate to say it, I can only come out of this situation with respect gained for Alicia Hannah Kim for taking the high road, in my
Yeah.
opinion, and respect lost for Martin Kove. It's just really sad when there are people that you love and then they do things to let you down and prove that they aren't who you thought they were. And I can't not lose respect for Martin Kove here. I think he gave one of the best performances in Cobra Kai. I think John Kreese was one of the best characters in Cobra Kai. I think Martin Kove and John Kreese was one of the best parts of the entire Cobra Kai series. And what we should be doing now is brushing off the and maybe trying to start to move on from the disappointment of Cobra Kai season 6 and start to think back to the first 5 seasons and how great the show was, even if the final season wasn't as great. But we can't do that because one of the actors came out and did something that I just can't defend in any way. So I hope Martin Kove moves on from this. I hope he learns. I'm glad he apologized. But I would be lying if I didn't say I lost respect for him here, because that's just what happened.
Yeah, definitely props to her for taking the high road. At the very least, I'm happy he apologized. But yeah, I think this will forever have an impact on how people see Kreese and how people see Martin Kove, which is too bad, but I mean, that's what happened, you know. And I hope down the road, Alicia is able to forgive him, maybe, and they're able to make up. That's best case scenario, I feel like. And I'm glad she made that statement, just saying that this isn't a reflection of her time spent on Cobra Kai, which was an awesome thing for her to say, actually. But yeah, it's a terrible situation, and yeah, originally I almost sided with Martin Kove just because I didn't have all the information, you know. But you know, now obviously you can't side with someone who does that. But hopefully he corrects his behavior down the line, evaluates himself, and is able to make some more better decisions down the line. But with that, that wraps up this episode of the Everything Podcast. We're going to have a bigger episode soon, at least for me, just because the film Superman releases on, or I'm going to be seeing it on Thursday next week, which also happens to be when our podcast is. But yeah, I'm very excited for this movie, my most anticipated movie of the year. So I'll probably have some thoughts going into that. But yeah, thank you all very much for watching this episode of the Everything Podcast. Will, thank you for joining me as always and for this discussion. And yeah, we'll see you next time.